For today and yesterday, what I worked on was creating the tunics for the sci-fi scene that I started cutting out the pieces for on Wednesday. So on Thursday, what I did was start pinning the pieces together. Um, I did quite a lot of them just so that when I actually got to sewing them, this would speed that process up and I wouldn't spend a lot of time going back and forth from each table from the sewing machine to the clear table to pin them so that would save me some time. Um, and after I had pinned them all, well, most of them together, I looked at testing out different needles and stitches on the fabric that I was using, the stretch computer foil fabric, and I did that because I haven't used this fabric before, and I know that stretch can be quite difficult to use, and using the right needle can make it a lot easier. And also, some of them might not be able to puncture the fabric very well, so I tested that out. I also tested out different stitch lengths and types, much like I did with the material. When I was making Samantha's dress, I looked at how the material responded to different stitches to see what effects I could create and what worked out the best, what was the strongest. And I found that a zigzag stitch worked the best out of all of them. It stretches with the fabric rather than a straight stitch, which is just straight and will hold it very quite strongly, but it doesn't work with the fabric as well as a zigzag stitch does. So I sewed a back centre seam and two side seams to construct it, and that was just going straight up with the zigzag stitch. And then I looked at creating a hem, just folding the fabric over and going across that with a zigzag stitch. This was quite difficult in some places because it was quite small and fiddly, so I just had to make sure to take my time and use a lot of pins because the fabric is quite slippery and quite synthetic. It does like to move around a lot, so I found using a lot of pins really helps to keep it in the same place and make it so I can sew it together more accurately. And then on Friday, when I was sewing some more of the tunics together, I found that my thread kept on snapping, and the zigzag stitches weren't working as well as they were on Thursday. So I tried out just switching my machine to see if there was a problem with the actual machine's zigzag stitching mechanism, and I also switched thread in case the problem was with the thread being too weak. And I'm not sure which problem it was, but once I switched machine, it wasn't a problem any longer, and it went a lot more smoothly. So I continued to sew the rest of them with that machine, which worked well. And I finished